So far, we've learned how to create tables and delete tables, which is dropping tables. What we want to do now is insert data or new records into those tables that we've created. And so the SQL statement to do that is called insert into. We say insert into, we give the table name, and in parentheses, if we want to insert into specific columns only, we would list our columns, and then we say values and we list the values. If we want to insert values into all the columns, then we can just, we don't have to put the column names, and we can just say values and then put the values. Let's look at an example. So let's look at the toys table that we had created before. So here I have a bunch of tables and I want to insert some toys in it. So let's look first and see which columns are mandatory. So toy ID is the primary key. So this one is mandatory. So let me put a comment next to it that is mandatory. This one we said not null. So this one is also mandatory. Okay. The price is not mandatory because we put a default for it. Default. Here the purchase date, we said it's mandatory because we said it's not null. So anytime I see a not null, I know it's mandatory. Anytime I see a primary key, I know it's mandatory. So those are my three mandatory columns. So let's try to insert into toys. And we want to only put into these three columns something. So I'm going to say, I'm going to insert into the toy ID. I'm going to insert in the toy name. And I'm going to insert into the purchase date. Okay, so I only want to insert these three columns. And what are the values that I want to insert? I want to insert toy 1, has the name car, and I purchased it in 01 December 2000. So this is how I can insert something into a table. So let's run this query, and it says the row has been inserted. Now let's insert another one with a price. So I'm going to go on it. This time I'm going to insert with toy ID, toy name, and I want to also put price, and I want to purchase place, and I also want to put the purchase date. So these are the three that I want to insert. Sorry, these are the columns that I want to insert into. And here I'm going to insert into 2. I'm going to insert a truck. Price is $10. I purchased it at Walmart, and the purchase date was 10 of November 2010. So let's insert this one. And the row got inserted. Now, what if I wanted to put in all the columns? So here, let's see. So here we said toy ID, toy name, price, purchase place, purchase date. So we actually put in everything, but we didn't really have to put the column names because we were inserting into all of them. So let's say insert into toys, and I'll just say values, and I'll immediately put the values. So 3, laptop, 20, by 12 of January 2015. So here I didn't put the column names because I just wanted to insert all the column values. And so inserted, and let's just make sure that everything got inserted. So let's say select toys and make sure our 3 items are in there. And they are. And the ones that I didn't put a default value for, like 5 here, the price is 5, and the purchase place was Toys R Us, because that's what we said the default values were going to be. And so they got inserted. Okay, So this is how you insert into an existing table. Now, another thing I want to show you is what happens if you try to insert something and it gives an error. So let's try to insert, let's just copy this again, and I'm going to just try to insert something else. And I'm going to give it the same ID, 3. Can I have 2 rows that have the same ID? I can't. And so here we say unique, we find that it's giving us an error message that says unique constraint system.primary toy ID violated. Where is the system.primary toy ID coming from? This is coming from the constraint names. And because we gave it a name, so here you see primary, we gave the constraint for the primary key a name, primary toy ID. This is what's showing up. So now I see that, oh, I violated the primary key. Now, remember when we just look at, let me just go to the constraints again so that you can see what they're like. So here are the constraints. The constraint name is what you decide. So here I said, this is called primary toy ID. This one's called toy name unique, but the others I didn't give them a name. So if I had, for example, if I try not to enter like a purchase date, it's going to give me this error message. Let's try that. Let's try doing one without the purchase date. So let's just copy this one. Let's delete this bad one. And let's just try to give it a name, an ID and a name. So we're going to give it ID, let's say 10, and cars. We want to make sure it's unique. And we forgot to put a date. Now let's see the error message that's going to show up here. And it said, cannot insert null into system.toys.purchase date. So here it's telling us that you're trying to do it null, but you left it blank. So when you choose constraint names that are meaningful, it helps you figure out what's wrong. Now let's add back the purchase date, and let's see one more error message. So here, let's try to insert another car. And date 8. And we said the toy name, we wanted it to be unique. So here we have another constraint that's broken. Now this constraint name is this C007017. Very unmeaningful. It doesn't really tell you what the problem is. And I would have to go here to see that 7017 is a unique check on the toy name. Okay, so this is why it's nice to give names for your constraints to make it easier to find problems when you try to insert data. The next thing we want to know is how do we delete data from a table? So there's a toy that I want to delete or an employee that left and I want to delete them. How do I do that? So the command to delete an entry or a row from a table is the delete from. So we say delete from and we put the table name and then we say where some condition is true. So where the person ID is this or whatever we want. Now, if I want to delete all the rows, then I could just say delete from table name and that'll delete all the entries. So let's go to our table here and let's just insert another row that has the same purchase date. So this is a bad row. Let's delete it. Here, let's insert a 4 and let's make this 20. And it was purchased on the same date. Okay, so let's insert this toy. It has a unique name, it has a unique primary key, so it got inserted, no problem. Now what I want to do is I want to delete the entries that match that were in January. Okay, so let's make sure that this table has 4 rows in it. It has 4 rows and I want to delete the ones that were purchased in January. So I'll say delete from toys where this date equal, and here I want everything that was in January. So I'll say % dash January dash. So anything that's in any January. Okay. And let's run that. And something is not right. error. Non-numeric character was found where a numeric was found, was expected. Let's try that for now, and I'll try to figure out the problem in the next video. Okay, so here it says that it deleted 2 rows, and if I show what's in the table, it used to have 4, now it has 2 rows. And if I want to delete everything, I'll just say delete from toys, and that's it. And so delete from toys, I didn't put any conditions, and so when I run that, it says 2 deleted. And so if I try running the select again, I will see that the table is empty. Now I will try to figure out what was wrong with this and explain it in the next video. And the last thing I want to talk about before the classwork is how do you drop tables? So remember, when we are creating tables, we need to create the strong entities first. So if I have my employee table and I have my department table, we said that we would need to create the the department table first, because the employee is going to depend on the department. So I need to create my first table first, the strong table first. When you're dropping tables, order matters. So if I'm dropping a table, I need to drop the child table first and then drop the parent table. If I try deleting a parent table, then it's going to complain that all the primary keys are referenced somewhere, and it's not going to let me. So I'm going to go and I'm going to mess up our database, and I'm going to say drop. So let's look at our tables again. So here we have the department table and employee table. If I try to drop the if I try to drop the department table first. So let's try dropping department. It's going to complain that here we tried attempting to drop a table with unique or primary keys referenced by foreign keys in other tables. It's telling you that you're trying to drop department, but there are other tables that reference the department as foreign keys. You can't do that. So what can I do instead? Let's try dropping the employee table. And I dropped the employee table. Now, after I drop the employee table, can I drop the department table? Well, if no one is using it, then I'll be able to. So let's try. And here I can't because someone else is using it. So let's try dropping the product table, because I think the product table references it. We can't drop the product because the order table, so let's try dropping the customer order first. So we have to drop all the children first. The customer order is storing the customer and the product in it, so let's drop it. So no one is referring to product and customer. So let's now drop customer, because we dropped all the orders. So I'm able to, let's drop the product, because now no orders refer to it. Now I drop the product. Now I should be able to drop the department because no products exist that reference my department. And so I'm able to. So when we are creating our entities, we create the strong ones first that don't depend on anything. When we're dropping, we drop the weak ones first. So customer order is the weak one because it depends on customer and product. After that, we can drop customer and product, and then employee, and then finally department, because department is used by employee. I can't drop it before the employee. So when we're dropping the tables, we drop the weak ones first, okay? And we drop the strong ones at the end. So opposite of creation. For this classwork, you'll be creating some entities to represent a ternary relationship. So what you're going to do is you're going to create those entities that I've listed here. Whatever is underlined is the primary key. Don't forget to set your constraints for the primary key and foreign key. I want to see named constraints. And then what you're going to do is you're going to insert 4 students into the student table, 3 exams into the examination table, and 6 courses into the course table. And for each of the students that you insert, I want you to insert 2 exam grades for 2 different courses. And then what you're going to do is you're going to run an SQL query to show me the data that's inserted in all the tables. Okay, and once you have that, submit it on Blackboard with a screenshot of your running an SQL developer with no problems.